So Israel has rejected a deal from Hamas. Who'd have thought? For months, we've heard from the pro-Israel lot that Hamas isn't interested in a deal, that they're the ones who keep rejecting it all the time. Of course, that is pure projection. So now it's being spun that the deal was unacceptable. This is really pathetic stuff from Israel defenders, but let's have a look at the deal. The deal, which was put forward by Egypt and Qatar, would come in 3 stages that would see an initial halt in the fighting, leading to lasting calm, and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Palestinian territory. The proposed agreement would also ensure the release of Israeli captives in Gaza, as well as an unspecified number of Palestinians held in Israeli jails. Here you can see there's 3 stages. Now, the first stage, 42 days, temporary cessation of hostilities, the withdrawal of Israeli forces eastwards, unhindered entry of humanitarian aid, displaced Palestinians to return home, Israeli planes and drones stop flying over Gaza for 10 hours a day, Hamas releases 33 captives, women, the sick, and male civilians aged below 19 and above 50. Israel releases 30 Palestinian prisoners for each civilian captive and 50 for every captive female soldier. Reconstruction begins in Gaza, allowing at least 60,000 temporary homes and 200,000 tents in Gaza. The second stage, which again is 42 days, military operations end permanently. Israel withdraws from Gaza completely. Exchange of remaining captive Israeli men and soldiers for Palestinian prisoners. And then the third stage, which again is 42 days, exchange of remains of captives and prisoners held by both sides, a key point there. 3 to 5 year Gaza reconstruction plan begins. Siege of the Gaza Strip ends completely. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems more than fair. I mean, Hamas are quite literally willing to release the hostages, which apparently has been the core reason to continue the onslaught by Israel. How many times have Israel defenders said, oh, well, if Hamas just released the hostages, this will all be over? Well, Hamas is offering that, and Israel rejected it. This isn't a Hamas deal, by the way. It's Qatar and Egypt, and Hamas just accepted it. If you're interested in peace and you want to see hostages released, why wouldn't you agree to this deal? So why did they reject it? What was so bad about this deal? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected ceasefire proposals because he says Hamas's call for a withdrawal of all troops from Gaza and an end to the war is unacceptable. Mr. Netanyahu said agreeing such proposals would leave Hamas intact and leave the possibility of another attack in future. Surrendering to the demands of Hamas would be a terrible defeat for the state of Israel, he said in a video statement. Now, first of all, I love the first sentence in that Sky article. Netanyahu rejects the deal because it could end the war, which probably wasn't intended by the writer, but that is the most accurate assessment of Israel. They don't want to end the war. Now, the demands from the deal were reasonable. What Netanyahu wants isn't. Why would Hamas support a deal of their own destruction? It doesn't make any sense. For Israel, they don't like the deal because it leaves Hamas intact. But why would Hamas accept that? I mean, just think about it. That's quite literally an impossible demand. Also, despite Hamas being terrorists, currently they are the only defensive force Palestine has. So there would be nothing to stop Israel from attacking them in the future if a deal was reached. I mean, that would happen, by the way. The Prime Minister's job is to protect citizens. If Netanyahu cared about ordinary Israelis, he would accept the deal. But that is not the goal of Israel. The goal is to completely take over Palestine and either kill or push all of the Palestinians away because they want the land. They would not stop the attacks, which is why instead of trying for peace, Israel has now attacked Rafah. Israel has launched a major military offense against Hamas forces in Rafah, Gaza's southernmost city, seizing control of a key border crossing and cutting off most aid into the territory a day before indirect talks on a ceasefire deal are due to restart. Images released by the Israeli Defense Forces show tanks flying large Israeli flags driving through the post and crushing a concrete sign reading, I love Gaza. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the offensive would continue until Hamas forces in Rafah and the entire Gaza Strip were eliminated or the militant Islamist organization began to release hostages. This is the beginning of our mission to take out the last 4 Hamas brigades in Rafah. You should be in no doubt about that whatsoever, the spokesperson said. Now, interestingly, the defense minister says, we will continue the offense until Hamas releases the hostages. They literally offered that and you rejected it. Any deal Israel would accept would be this. Hamas releases the hostages and then Israel doesn't pull out whatsoever. That's it. In their eyes, if all the hostages are released, then Israel will just up the intensity of the attack, knowing that they can just, obliterate the entirety of Palestine, which obviously Israel doesn't have restraint because look what they've done already. I mean, look at Gaza, it's completely flattened. And that's despite Hamas having Israeli hostages. Israel have very likely killed their own, but they don't care about the hostages. It would probably make them feel a little bit better and look better optically if there were no hostages. And then they probably nuke them. This is what Zionists are defending. I can't believe there are still people trying to twist it, trying to justify what Israel was doing. The only thing that makes sense is that there is a huge crossover between Zionists and Islamophobes. If you hate Muslims, if you hate Palestinians, then defending Israel is easy. Zionists think that Israel is a civilized nation defending themselves from the radical Muslims. They proclaim Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Well, what kind of democracy attack their own people when they are protesting the genocide? Brave Israelis who are standing up to the government, they're being shut down. What kind of democracy shuts down the media, which is what Israel has done? Israeli authorities shut down the local offices of Al Jazeera on Sunday, hours after a government vote to use new laws to close the satellite news network's operations in the country. Israeli officials said the move was justified because Al Jazeera was a threat to national security. The incitement channel Al Jazeera will be closed in Israel, the country's prime minister posted on social media after the unanimous cabinet vote. Now, Al Jazeera has been superb on this conflict. They have called out Israel's lies time and time again, which is why they're being shut down. They don't like the truth being revealed. Now, how does shutting down media organizations protect national security? You are not a democracy when you do that. Look, I would not be in favor of us shutting down GB News, despite them being a far right and extremely amateur propaganda outlet. I want far stricter Ofcom rules, and that goes for the entirety of the media. But shutting down GB News would be wrong. It would be authoritarian and anti-democratic, which the UK is no stranger of. They shut down RT. Now, RT are a pro-Russia media outlet, even though they've covered domestic issues far better than our media. But again, closing down the media is wrong. So I don't want to hear anything about Israel being the only democracy in the Middle East. They are not. They are a genocidal terrorist government. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and drop a comment. It's good for the algorithm and I'm interested in what you have to say. If you're not already subscribed, please do and hit the notification bell. You can also support this channel by becoming a member for 99p per month. And if you're feeling a little more generous, then you can support us on Patreon for £3 or £5 per month. This channel for a while has been uploading every single day, and it's quite a lot of work that is still voluntary and scheduled around my paid work. But I have so much ambition, expect in the future to see more variety in content, such as interviews and Vox Pops. But I want this to be a fully fledged media organisation where not only is this my full-time job, but to have multiple people working for Turn Left. I like to see a live show in the future, more content that delves into culture, history, and much more. But that can only be done if there's money. So please, if you can, support us in any way that's in your capacity. And thank you to existing members, subscribers, and patrons. See you next time.